Per usual, everyone on this channel is for educational purposes only and is not intended as financial advice. It is Setup Sunday. Once again, let's take a look at some charts. Got plenty of them this week. And I think it really comes down to the individual. Certain people are going to love, there are going to be people who love like leveraged silver miners here. Okay, I don't know why, but there's going to be people like that, or they're going to love XYZ altcoin. That's totally fine. That's totally fine. So don't listen to me. I'm just one guy. I'm just one guy out here trying to make some bread, make some cheese, make some dough. I don't want to yuck your yum, right? If we're thinking about the journey of a breakout, the journey of a trend, I like to get there at the beginning when the train is boarding, not a moment before. If the train has already left the station, not something for me. Maybe there's an intermediate stop I can hop on, but generally there really needs to be a destination that makes it worth it. So that's the question I'm always asking. What is the confidence of this? What is the target? What is the risk reward? And then how can I size this? On a lot of this equity stuff, I just size it as X percentage of the account. But for gold, I can go full account gold. I can go full account Bitcoin. I can be totally fine with that. ETH, Sol, I can certainly increase the percentages. So just something to think about when, again, leverage, all leverage is just sizing. So if you're super confident that Cardano is going to $10, right? Don't let me stop you. It's my point. So on BTC, we have so far survived this potential down move. We held on the horizontal level, which is good on the cup and handle there, held above the cloud. We're going to get a bullish 1050 cross on the daily soon. ETF flows are back. We still have the cup and handle. We're still deciding what we're going to do with the cloud here, but it looks better than it did a couple days ago. And of course, we have rates down soon. Inflation is going to probably continue to slowly tick up, and money printing, debasement, however you want to think about that, is also going to slowly increase. So those are environments where Bitcoin should do well. So if we struggle here for whatever reason, in the next 3 months, that's my time horizon here initially, is what does October look like? And then what does the rest of the year look like? If we can't get it together in October, if we're not above 125 in October, that is a disappointment. One other thing we could paint out here is a multi-month inverted head and shoulders at 124, I guess would be the neckline-ish, 120, 120 something. We're not there yet. The best thing we got going for us here is back above the cloud. COT data is neutral. I don't have it on this presentation, but just trust me. If you pull it up on TradingView, you'll see. And it's great that gold is running higher. It means we wait. We just wait and eventually go higher. So that's fine. And of course, seasonality. It's still September. Still got half a month left in September. I wouldn't expect much here. Think about it. Probabilities again. What's the probability we're going to get a crazy breakout here above 125 in September? Higher or lower than 50%? I'd say it's probably lower than 50%, but it's probably pretty close to 50% considering we're getting rate cuts. So we still look okay. Relative to all this stuff. We do have a big seller who's back in the market again. I don't know how much you got left. 4 billion, 10 billion, 65 billion, whatever. It doesn't really matter. Loves to do it on the weekend, just like Galaxy loves to buy Sol on the weekend to push price up. So good for them. But all in all, certainly more bullish than bearish here on the old BTC. For IBIT, it's also, again, like, what do you want to see? You want to see bullish TK recross back above the cloud. You're almost there. The edge to edge failed so far. And the target is the target. You're just taking the depth, you're measuring it higher, log fibs, log scale. That's it, till the end of time. So from here, of course, you can say, okay, well, what are my options for leverage? I've got options, which are probably the best option. I've got MSTR, which is trading like garbage. You've got leveraged BTC, BITU. You've got just vanilla leverage on any DEX or exchange, etc. But for the moment, MSTR is still not the place, continues to not be the place. I don't care if this is a stone cold low. I'm not here to sit on the train, make sure I'm the first one. All these people who they rush to get in the line on the plane, right? I don't care what zone I'm in or whatever to board the plane. I'm clearly going to get on the plane. I'm already at the airport, right? We're all already at the airport. We're probably going to get on the plane at some point. I don't need to be the first one on the plane. Okay, we don't need to sit there on the tarmac for 6 hours until the plane maybe or maybe not takes off. That's what MSTR is here. That is a technical view. If you have a fundamental view, if your view is anything other than what you're looking at on this screen, it is not technicals, and that's fine. But I'm coming at you with a technical view. The technical view is this looks horrific. Failed breakout to neutral to bearish. It needs to get back above 380. I have zero doubts in my mind this will have a push higher, just not anytime super soon within the next couple weeks. You got BITU, similar to IBIT, probably a better option over MSTR. If you know options at all, options are probably a better option than even BITU. But BITU is the quick and easy way to do it as far as a 2x is concerned. And this has a 2 to 3x potential in it from here. I think it's a little early to like go full account leverage, at least for me. I want to see a little bit more. Give me a week-ish above the cloud, and we probably are good to go across the board. We have JPOW this week, obviously, so we'll see what comes out of that. If we get a failed breakout, if we get a stupid God candle, who knows, right? But if we sit here today, we're on the tarmac. We're ready and waiting on the launch pad. And similar to these DATs, you can probably watch MSTU, which is leveraged MSTR, on a super low time frame and get away with trading this if and when this starts to curl up. Just because MSTR is down as much as it is, and MSTU is going to have vol drag plus be down a lot. So watching this on the hourly, just like BMNR or something, is probably pretty reasonable here. It's a clear signal. It's been down only, right? We get above 550, and why not take a step? I don't know if I will, but that's an idea. That's what this is about on Setup Sunday, about ideas. I thought I'd also bring up a bunch of these correlations because MSTR and SOL had been correlated basically 1-to-1 in 23 and in 24 until the election, and then MSTR took off. Post Trump coin, SOL just died, right? And now SOL is back and MSTR is not. So maybe it is a good thing for MSTR that SOL is taking off like it is, and maybe that's a good sign. But clearly the type of trader trading all of this stuff, trading all of the AI stuff, trading all of quantum, has some idea of options. They're probably not focused on MSTR here, not until momentum comes back. And that's really important to know if you're focusing on MSTR for really no reason, in my opinion. So here's MSTR versus Rigetti, RGTI, pretty tight correlation in 23 and 24, middle of 25. And then that broke July, August timeframe where RGTI held and MSTR did not, right? So maybe MSTR needs SOL to top out first. It needs RGTI to top out first. It needs these heavy momentum plays to first break out more and then slow down before BTC and MSTR gets rotated into. It's also interesting that you kind of get this like pseudo vol drag in 24 where you just like lose this correlation for a bit and then it catches up. And now it feels like we have this pseudo vol drag for MSTR versus RGTI. Just interesting. It's like a sentiment momentum gauge to think about and consider. If we look at Bitcoin against Rocket Lab, a very good sign that Rocket Lab is regaining all-time highs here. This has also held a 1-to-1 correlation effectively for the past year, ever since the election. Bitcoin did better in April, then it sort of recoupled June, July. And now here you can see Rocket Lab outperforming relative to BTC. But should these correlations maintain themselves, this is what you want to see. It would be a different story if RGTI was breaking down instead of up, and if RKLB was breaking down instead of up. I think it's easier to get optimistic when you have such a tight correlation historically, whether this is like some sort of sentiment or algo or whatever, right? For whatever reason, this stuff has been very tightly traded, and that may return here at some point. But Rocket Lab also looks good. Kind of this would be like an intermediary stop. I'm going to talk about IREN in a second, but probably a little bit of a inverted head and shoulders breakup there at all-time highs on Rocket Lab. So 65.75, decent level. Some of the miners have done very well in a very weird time. You know, they're not doing well because Bitcoin is doing well. They're not doing well because they're catching up to Bitcoin. They're doing well because they're pivoting their entire business model to something else. Now it's loosely data center, AI, whatever, right? But that's why a lot of these that have basically just been dead for 2 years are starting to turn around. And when you're looking for breakouts, when I'm looking for things to do, I'm always looking for pattern plus cloud plus consolidation is a bonus. But the technicals are what kept me in this and got me in this. Fundamentals clearly are what push this higher. When you have both together, that's when you see just silly stuff like this, right? We still don't have trailing stop loss on this Williams fractal, you'd have to go down to like the hourly or something. And some people have asked me, okay, it's at the target. What do you do? I just do nothing. Okay, like you could let some go. You could sell 25%, 50%, whatever. Or you can just hold it and say, you know what? I'm going to wait for the fractal, see what happens. So until we have a fractal to even move this trailing stop loss, I don't think there's anything to do there. This was IREN. And again, if this is about looking for setups, what am I always looking for? I'm not looking for some page 56 coin that I can gamble on. I'm looking for my edge. My edge would be trend trading and patterns. So when we're getting these breakouts, you don't know where this is going to go. Now you can have some idea based on fundamentals, based on what's going on around the sector. But IREN has done very, very well. Here's a little intermediary stop. IHS continued to go, right? And it's past that target still. So IREN has done very, very well. But you're always looking for clean downtrend into clean breakout, for sure. Another one, Cypher, Bitcoin miner. I'll get to ETH in a second, but the Cypher chart is basically the ETH chart. It is a descending broadening wedge that is breaking up. So the question here is Cypher a better trade than ETH? It might be. It might have an easier time going to 20 than ETH has to go to 8,000. Now, I wouldn't have both of these in the port together at equal sizes, but again, for whatever reason, you can justify whatever, fundamental sentiment. These have traded virtually identical. I don't think they're in ETH mining. I mean, they might be, not ETH mining, validator services. Just very odd. But it's a good sign for ETH that stuff like this it's breaking up. It's a good sign for coin, which we'll get to in a second, that ETH is breaking up, Cypher is breaking up. So along with the BTC portion of the video, I'll get to alts at the very end, but GLD is also nearing its first target, its expected move. It's within the wheelhouse of expectations. I would always first look at this stuff on the commodity side. I don't like the future side. You can argue the ETF side introduces a fee there, right? So it's a little different. The purest signal is probably on the direct spot mechanism, but with BTC, what I've noticed is maybe IBIT is a better thing to chart because that's where most of the volume is during the day, during US hours, not the spot side. So for gold here, we have a trailing stop loss at 36.12. Okay, that's it. Nothing else to say. Vanilla breakout looks great. Maybe a high and tight flag there, but definitely something to watch for this week for someone like me who has a lot of GLD and UGL. I'm definitely paying attention to that level because we're already there. The train has already reached its destination by 85%. Maybe this consolidates here. Maybe you get stopped out. Maybe it doesn't stop out and keeps going, right? Whatever. Doesn't matter. That's not the point. The point is you were thinking about it down here before it broke out, right? And as a reminder, this is iShares Gold Trust GLD competitor IAU. This was the huge cup and handle, the decade-long cup and handle that gold was in. And it's also already 85% there on its target. You'd say, well, we're printing, we are dropping rates. It's not going to make sense to just stop here. I'm not going to disagree, but the technicals say, be careful up here, right? Maybe don't go super, super crazy. Based on high time frames, we may start to slow down the closer we get to the 75 area. And this is UGL, which still has a little bit to go on it. In the target camp, 42.45. Looks good. GDX also, again, it's like everybody's bullish. I don't want to just be contrarian to be contrarian. GDX has done very well. It's up, 80% or something silly this year. But based on the multi-year pattern, we are getting close, 62 to 80, to where you'd expect it to go. This can always go further. This can just continue to be a crazy parabolic move. And it certainly looks very strong. But I would be careful with assumptions on the daily. Like we have to go to 100 or something. I would still pay attention to it. I wouldn't just say, oh, this has to keep going. Silver is another one, just like GDX, which, by the way, GDX has outperformed silver by a ton. And again, there's people who think silver is going to 120, right? Fine. I'm not going to disagree, whatever, right? This looks like a parabolic move, hasn't finished yet, potentially halfway or just getting started. But this is also starting to reach the wheelhouse of expectations based on a multi-year pattern. So you see people, saying gold's going to go to 6,000, gold's going to go to 10,000. Okay, that's possible. Is it going to need another 10 years to consolidate? Up here is the question. What's relevant for BTC is previously we had bullish TK recross price above cloud times 3 before the current one. So this is times 4 in 2 years on gold. They gave you moves to peak 51 days, 106 days, 90 days. So between 50 and 100 days from the bullish TK recross, I would expect this to start to slow down. If that doesn't happen, if this just keeps going beyond December, then we have something else completely different on our hands, which is possible and will eventually be even more bullish for BTC. But if this does keep going, I'd expect it to reconsolidate. And this is what you want to see for ETH. This is what you want to see for BTC, for Sol, all of this stuff. Just repeated reconsolidations and breaks higher. And we've seen this on NVIDIA over and over and over again. Bullish TK recross price above cloud over and over and over again. It is the single most bullish signal in the cloud system. So you always want to see reconsolidation. This is Costco, right? Over and over and over and over again. Is it always a crazy move higher? No, that's not guaranteed. But what is most likely is you're going to see some momentum break higher. And what's interesting here on Costco specifically is it's sort of reconsolidating a la 2022 again. But when I'm looking at the BTC chart, you know, I'm getting excited. Getting excited for this bullish TK recross price above cloud. Now this last one here didn't go anywhere, right? Just sort of died. So that's still the risk. The risk is nothing happens, right? We did have a bullish TK recross here. That broke up. Kind of just, we got to move, but it didn't really go anywhere. So the point is, the signal is what's important. What happens after that is up to the asset. The signal is the key. So for ETH, on the bullish side, you've got positive flows on ETFs, lesser than they were past couple weeks, still very positive. DAT's still buying BMNR, SBET, etc. You've got cloud still looks great. 1050 is bullish, and descending broadening wedge here should continue. This should continue. I've seen a lot of people point out like Adam and Eve here. Some people point out head and shoulders. That just tells me it needs to figure itself out, right? Like it's hard to call this one way or the other. It certainly looks more Adam and Eve than head and shoulders-y, but if it does curl down to that 4,200 neckline and you get a bearish TK cross, it's just nothing I would continue to hold. That's just me. On the bear side, the COT data continues to be all-time high bearish, aka positioning. Validator Q is the validator queue. It's effectively infinity right now because you've got Kiln and a bunch of other people rotating validators around. It's going to be probably an entire quarter between the exit queue and the entry queue to get that ETH in and out. Whether or not that matters at the end of the day, we'll see. But it's certainly something to pay attention to. The relative value thing is very important for alt season people because, again, at this point, if we go back to the Cypher example, is it going to be easier for Cypher, the Bitcoin miner, to go from 10 to 20 or ETH to go from 4621 to 8,000? We'll see. We'll see, but it might be easier for Cypher and it might be easier for any altcoin to double from its current level versus ETH. So you've got relative value in competition where people at this point may just prefer something else. Now that something else doesn't necessarily have an ETF, most of it. So if your target is 200,000, you know, don't listen to me, right? But this is what makes the most sense within the next 3 months, something between 8 and 10 based on the measured move here. The question is just in what speed, right? Does Bitcoin go to 165 and ETH is still at 5K? You know, I don't think so, but something to think about on a relative basis. For BMNR, you got the 30-minute breakout here on the 10th, so it's a couple days ago now. Train barely gone here, I think, probably on BMNR. But again, if you're turbo bullish ETH and you want leverage, you've got ETH options, you've got leveraged ETFs, you've got DATs that are actually turning up and not down like MSTR. So this versus MSTR, it's this all day. Even SBET, you have a 30-minute breakout. The last one went nowhere. But this is, you know, obviously what dreams are made of, right? You always want to see a multi-day push. So if you're convinced this is an Adam and Eve, maybe you like a little leverage here. If you think this is a head and shoulders, you probably are not even trading ETH at all, right? You're trading something else. And for coin relative to ETH, this is another one that just has had basically 100% correlation. You know, with a few times it's sort of deviated, but coin is lagging a lot. So eventually one would assume coin will pull up to ETH here. So if you're bullish coin, you absolutely need ETH to just continue. You need ETH at 8K. So if you're not bullish ETH, which I don't know why you wouldn't be if you're trading coin, but if you're not, maybe lay off the coin. The rest of the legacy stuff, real quick before I get to alts, SPY still looks fine. Unexcitingly making all-time highs every other day. Fine. Nothing bearish about that. Q's negating the head and shoulders risk here. That's super, super bullish. Should see something in the 600s and continues to look fine as long as you don't get the bearish TK cross there pricing cloud. So there's a defined level to watch there. I would still rather trade something like KWeb where this thing has been sitting on the tarmac for 3, 4, 5 years and just waiting in maintenance mode and is finally starting to push up. I think it's going to be easier for KWeb to go from 40 to 80 than it is for the Qs to go from 600 to 1200. So again, that relative value question comes into play. This is IWM versus MAGs. Somebody asked me to bring this up. This is just a reminder that, even though something looks good, which is kind of the point of this video, even though something looks good on a relative value basis, it may just be better to do something else. And that's why it's important to have a somewhat decently broad aperture when you're in your screening process. This is small caps versus the best companies to ever exist in the history of the world, right? And even down here, it's still pretty clear that shocker, Mag 7 continues to be winning despite the outperformance of IWM relative to the Qs. The cream of the crop is still doing very, very well relative to zombie companies. MAGs, the ETF, also had a little bit of a head and shoulders here that it has negated and just shot through all-time highs. I think a lot of that has been led not by Amazon, but by Tesla. Tesla's done really well. This is another one, broke out, stayed above the cloud for, I don't know, a month and a half, right, before breaking up. And I think you just got to be patient. As long as you don't make lower lows, as long as you don't break into the cloud, as long as you don't break below support, it's worth holding on to that belief. And that's why, again, we go back to BTC. Like, we really don't want to go below 100K. We really don't. At this point in the journey, we really, really don't. So Tesla looks good. Nice little 500 target there probably on all-time highs. And then you got some other stuff that's waking up that, just like BTC, again, it's great that there's some reconsolidation post-breakout on a lot of this stuff. Galaxy being one of them. And again, do you think Galaxy is going to 60 before ETH is going to 8K? Maybe. Something to think about. Oklo. Crazy targets on Oklo because this went super deep. Another reconsolidation. Looks like it wants higher. Grab is another one, kind of just dawdled there at the breakout level, broke back up. So this is a very good sign. Not something you see in a bear market, by the way, just in case somebody needs to hear that. All this stuff looks very, very good. Roku's another one, similar to Grab, that ascending triangle. It also has the Roblox ascending triangle fractal. Hasn't even started to break out yet. Elf, another one, randomly, right? This is beauty products, makeup. Plenty of room left on this one. Plenty of room left on Circle if it ever starts to break out. This is an hourly downtrend. So there's tons of stuff. What do I like? I like stuff that is at the breakout level, ready to break out. Just tons and tons of pain. So yeah, I'll give it a shot, and then I'll add on the breakout, and then I might keep adding. But after the initial slug, I usually wait till things have started to break out a little bit. And then I thought I'd throw in EVAV for a quick plug, pun intended, kind of similar to KWeb. Now this does have a ton of vol drag, so it's just going to kind of look like nonsense for a while until momentum picks up again. But it's at that level, at that $28 level. Can this go to 60 before ETH goes to 8K? Something to think about. Something to think about. As for alts, there are a few that have looked decent. I don't think I have a Sol chart today, but Sol looks fine. Right? I don't think anybody, unless you're living under a rock, Sol basically went to 250. Doge kind of following a similar path. Looks plenty bullish. Love it. AVAX, same deal. Looks very similar to Doge. Should continue. And I like this over ENA. I like this over Link. I like this over ETH. I like this, right? Anything that's already basically to some crazy target is going to need an epic fundamental catalyst to push it. And you might be thinking, well, of course, Link has to go to 3,000 or whatever, right? Don't listen to me. I'm just looking at the technicals here. This clearly has momentum along with Doge. DOT is another one starting to break up. Fundamentals aren't there. Again, what are fundamentals? I don't know. You tell me. But this one's been in the doghouse for quite some time. Is this going to go to 8 before ETH goes to 8K? Maybe. Then you get a whole slew of other ones. IMAX, Matic, Near, Wormhole, A bunch I'm leaving off that are just like sort of sitting here. These look like those bond charts always pull up, just sort of consolidating. Good things happen above the cloud. So pick your favorite 5, pick your favorite 10. Be patient. As long as BTC can hold above 110, we should be good to go here to the end of the year. That's all I have for this one. Give me a like, dislike, comment, share, subscribe, and happy trading.